Ben, you started off defending the point guard and then you spent time on Kawhi when he was going off. What's it like defending someone like Kawhi when he's just hitting all those shots?
Personally, I think I did a pretty good job overall. But he's a tough player. I mean, he's Kawhi. He's a physical guy, a lot of length, can shoot the ball, so he's a tough guy to match up on.
And offensively, were you pleased with the team's performance tonight?
I mean, we lost.
Ben, what do you think? It wasn't Joel's best game. What are the things you think you guys could do as a team to kind of get him going?
I think just finding him a little bit earlier into the game, making sure he gets open steals, whatever it is, and getting him the ball where he wants it. But overall, I think as a team, we just got to move the ball. We can't be too stagnant. We got to move and keep cutting and play as a team.
Sarah, any questions? Nothing?
Ben, in terms of what Kawhi did tonight, what made him so difficult from your perspective?
I don't think we showed enough help. I think as a team, we have to treat him similar to Giannis, come over a little bit more, and try and get the ball out of his hands. Downhill, he's one of those guys who can get a bucket easily, and he's a physical guy. So in terms of that, we just got to do a better job.
I know it's a different team, different series, but last time, first round, you guys suffered a loss in game one. What's the mindset you try to take after tonight going
Just got to get better. Watch film. We'll go over the game tomorrow and try and get better, fix a few things.
Do two more.
Ben, after JJ hit that flurry of threes in the third, you guys, I think, cut it to 4. What do you think allowed them to kind of push it back ahead?
I think just lack of communication, not sticking to that game plan that we had. I think overall in spurts we did a good job, but it wasn't a game overall, where we came to every quarter and were able to do that. So we got to do a better job of that. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. So one of the things that stands out on the box score when you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, they shot beneath 40% as a team, but Ben Simmons 7 for 8 from the field. When you flip that coin, Siakam and Kawhi Leonard each took 9 shots in the first quarter. So what did you see from the Raptors and how they approached Ben Simmons to keeping him from getting those shot attempts up, also keeping the assist down? He only had 3.
Well, they did something that Brooklyn tried to do, but they just did it with one guy, and that was Jared Dudley. But you're going to see with the Toronto Raptors, they did a remarkable job of putting multiple bodies there. So, for instance, check out this. Downhill, look at this. Serge Ibaka, Siakam, they're available. Another wall. Look at that. Kawhi Leonard's in the action. Serge Ibaka got his eyes on him. You're taking away a ton of real estate, so he's not able to get off and do what he wants to do. And then you got a big body on him right now. So if he elected to try to get a post up, you still had a guy like Serge Ibaka in his space where he couldn't post that frame up, and he had to kick the ball out and do something else from an offensive standpoint. Once again, he's hovering, got Kyle Lowry on him. He's hovering around the paint. Lowry's doing an excellent job of stunning, getting back to the body of him, and just making it difficult where he's not getting those situations where he's just going downhill, living in the paint, and drawing in so much of the defense, and then being able to kick it out for easy shots from a JJ Redick and guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben's got to do a better job, like you said. Is if the wall is there, get the ball movement. I think so many times when you hold the ball, dribble, the defense gets set. If you move the ball moves faster than the bodies. You can get easier layups. And I think so many times he holds it, and dribbles it rather than to get the ball movement. The overall, they got frustrated by their defense, by the physical play. As Coach Norris said, they wanted to put their bodies up on them, and they got up on them. And I think the Sixers got frustrated from it rather than move the basketball. You got to move the basketball.
Certainly, it seems like Ben Simmons has to do a better job of making himself available when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. The Raptors now 5 straight playoff wins, a new franchise high. We'll hear from them next on GameTIme.
A big series, and and we weren't pushing as hard as I would have liked, and we weren't cutting as hard as I would have liked, and those guys kind of bailed us out and kept us ticking over. Actually played enough offense to kind of get us a nice little lead there at the start. So it was big to have those two guys step up and kind of jumpstart us.
Eric, to your left, about halfway down, Coach.
Eric Crane, The Athletic. You sort of resisted the urge to match up with what they do in terms of their rotations. Why was that?
Well, I think, as I stated before the game, I was really pleased with what our rotations looked like in the first series, and I wanted to kind of give it a go. We tweaked it a little. I think I might have got Danny back in pretty quick to get another starter out there at the beginning of the second, and I kind of, I was tempted to start the fourth to bring Kawhi back, to be honest with you, too, because I thought the way that third ended, they had a little momentum. But our guys, we stuck with them, and they went out and got a quick, I think it was just a 4-0 run, but it was a big 4-0 run, and they had, they took a timeout.
Steve at the back and to your right, Coach.
Nick, Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun. Is there anything Kawhi does that surprises you? Or have you seen everything now? Well,
I think that was, I guess not maybe surprising. Tonight was pretty dang good tonight, right? I mean, that was again a big time performance at both ends, and I just like the force he's playing with at both ends, but especially when he's getting the ball, he's pushing it up the floor, he's punching gaps with force, he's determined to get to spaces. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but that was pretty cool to watch tonight.
Ryan at the front and to your left, Coach.
Hey, Coach. Ryan McNeil, Austin Filter. We talked pregame about defense, and you held Philly to under 40%. What stood out for you from the defense tonight?
Well, I thought our defense was pretty good, but not. Let's put it this way: there's room for improvement. I thought we had several breakdowns as well, but what stood out for me is we did one thing that we set out to do, which was get up and get in them. Right? We didn't want to let them have too much easy. They had a couple, drives down uncontested, a couple dunks here and there, but the main thing, I think once we kind of got ourselves settled into the game, we were breaking up their sets, we were stopping the ball a long ways from the basket with the dribbler picking up his dribble, and we were up in them. So that's a really good starting point, right? That we're up and we're pressuring.
Lewis, about 3/4 of the way down on your right, Coach.
Lewis Atzman, Raptors Republic. You mentioned you'd open relatively vanilla from the last series and see what happened. Aside from the obvious, what did you see? Not asking for specific adjustments, but anything in general worth changing going forward, or happy with it?
Well, I think there's always adjustments to be made, and I think that's always the battle you got to make after a win, right? Is that you think, oh well, that game went well, and let's not change anything. But I think there's always adjustments to make, and we'll look at some things. I think there's some things we definitely can shore up, just in some specific coverages and plays, and again, like that last series didn't mean anything to this one. This next game will be a totally different complexion. That's what's super interesting about a series is no two games is the same, right? That's why we got to play them all.
Last couple of questions. I've got Bruce here.
Bruce Arthur from the Toronto Star. What did you like about how you guys handled Embiid, and how important was it to keep him under wraps in this game? Well,
it's extremely important because he can go. He can go do a lot of things, and he can take over a game. He can go wild on you. So it was great. I thought the combination of Mark and Serge did a good job. He was taking some tougher shots. I thought we had him picking up the ball a little bit further away maybe than he wanted a few times. And then our team help was pretty good too. I thought we were crowding the paint a little bit, making it look a little crowded in there for him, so he wasn't that comfortable.
Last question from Eric, please.
I think it was Game 3 against Orlando where Vucevic got going and Serge had a rough first half, and you stuck with him in that role, and he came through. Sort of the same thing tonight. Is it just something he's earned, and you want to give him every chance to make his mark on a game, which he obviously did?
Yeah, I think it's certainly for sure he's something he's earned, Eric, without a doubt. But he also plays that way a little bit. He's kind of, I don't know, he kind of, as the game wears on, he always seems to get better and better. So sometimes you got to live through a little bit of that, and you know, we can't play Mark the whole game, so we gotta get him out there, and I think that Serge has got that game under his belt. I think he'll be a little bit better from the start, but he was really something down the stretch, blocking shots and rebounding and making some hard drives, and he definitely got into the flow of the game there in the fourth quarter.
Thank you. Coach Brown is on.
Thank you.
Karan, one of the things we heard Nick Nurse said is we wanted to break up their action, right? You saw Philadelphia shoot just 39% from the floor, 34% from three-point range. How'd they do that?
I thought they did a great job of just staying attached to him and, you know, making it difficult for them to catch it in comfort space or a space where they can attack and be 17 foot on in, and made it extremely difficult, especially when you got a guy like Ben Simmons.
Well, Brett Brown is now at the podium as well following his first game loss in this round 2 against the Toronto Raptors.
Brett Sertod, Philadelphia Inquirer. 16 points out of Joel, 5-18. That's uncharacteristic. What did you see from him tonight?
I mean, I thought you got to give credit to Marc Gasol. He was the defensive player of the year for a reason. I thought Serge, came in and did a good job athletically, especially, making it difficult for Joel. And I got to help him more. I think getting him into the post different ways and freeing him up a little bit more than we did is something that I have to look at. But I give Toronto credit for their defensive effort tonight.
Coach John Schumann, NBA.com. How far has Kawhi Leonard come along as a scorer since you were with him in San Antonio?
Leaps and bounds, incrementally, just every year gets more dominant. And even when I came to Philadelphia, those years that I was in Philadelphia, looking in the rearview mirror of him evolving under Pop and in the San Antonio Spurs system, that you could just see this thing's trending in an incredible way. And to sort of fast forward that and look at his skill package tonight and the variety of ways that he scored and could get his shot off on some pretty good defensive players and big athletes was incredibly impressive.
Hey, Brett, that wave that, over here to your right, the wave that Toronto hit you with in the middle of the first quarter, was that something just so different from the first round series that almost a team needs to adjust to when it goes up against opponent at this next stage of the postseason?
I mean, I wouldn't want to commit or own that you need it. I don't feel that. But what I do feel is because it happened, I think that reality stick, stings a little bit. And so we felt it with Brooklyn. We came out and needed to do better in the first game at Brooklyn. There were some things that, as I'm feeling the game and obviously not watching the tape, that we can do better just executing what we tried to get done. I think that there are some individual performances that we'd like to have back. These guys, we can all get better. I can do a better job on maybe freeing up Joe, or maybe showing even more of a crowd to Siakam or Kawhi. But in general, I wish you didn't need something like this to jump into a series. But we're not going home. We're not going away. We will dig in and come back better in game 2.
Coach, Steve Brotherston, Pro B-Ball Report. Prior to the game, you were talking about you weren't going to play scared. You were going to do what you've been successful at. And on the boards, you were quite good. You dominated second chance points. Toronto on their side dominated on the fast break points. Is this a trade-off you can live with going forward?
I hope so. I hope so. We had the turnovers still are too many. You'd like to have, a handful of those back. I'll be curious when you look at the tape and we say, like, because, Tobias, as an example, crashed the boards, we got punished going the other way. I didn't feel like that was a result of the transition points because we went to the offensive boards. I could be wrong when I look at the tape, but to your question, is it a trade-off? I hope not.
Brett, Kyle Newbeck, Philly Voice. You decided to go with Furkan as the bench wing tonight after losing Mike and having to slide James up. I guess, why did you go with him, and were you happy with what he gave you out there?
Yeah. The short answer is shooting. Like, we felt with the way Toronto guards, they really scramble well. They're unafraid of attack and penetration, that if we were going to, and we needed to obviously without Mike, find another wing, you can go with Zaire, Jonathan, Furkan. You had to choose from that, say, group. We felt Furkan's ability to score was the trade-off we were prepared to live with. We felt defensively we could put him in environments that wouldn't entirely expose him. But the true answer is, when we chose to go with Furk, it was driven because he out of that group is the best shooter.
Brett, David Credman, ESPN. Getting back to Kawhi, there were some possessions where you saw Ben on him, but Ben was also guarding a variety of guys. Is that something you look to in Game 2, considering the success that he had in the first round on all the defensive assignments that he got, where you just got to give him a shot on Kawhi?
Yeah, I mean, when you have Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons, you feel like you have answers to figure out who's guarding, Siakam or Kawhi. And we had great success in the Brooklyn series with Ben guarding a point guard with his length. To your question, could we see him more on Kawhi? Maybe. Or maybe, some of the others, we just got to do a little bit better and give them help with crowds. Again, you're always smarter in the light of day after you've seen the tape. But, our intention was to have multiple defensive players on Kawhi out of that group that I just said.
Brett in the back here. With all due respect to Kawhi's performance, how difficult is it when you have Siakam out there with him and trying to match up with both those players at the same time? And can you talk a little bit about how you think you did in that regard tonight?
I think we have to do better if we're gonna win a game. If we're gonna win the series, we have to do better in relation to both of those guys. Now we can all sit here and say, kind of no kidding. The ripple effect is this is the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA after the trade. And so, the balance of going at somebody and getting picked apart with Kyle or Danny, and others is real. So I feel like you certainly shake their hand, Kawhi and Pascal, like they were excellent. But, like, are you just going to live with that throughout a series? I doubt it.